Welcome to LMP Talks Wrestling. We're back with part 2 of our wrestling podcast coverage this week. A few days ago, we released part 1 that focused on AEW Dynamite and day 1 of Wrestlemania. Today, we're going to be focusing on Smackdown that finished airing last night, as well as Mania Day 2 and some of the potential new matches being added to the card. So without further ado, let us forget about the world's problems. Let's forget about the crisis. Let's be kind. Let's dive back into the discussion. He was here a few days ago, and he's back again. Please help me welcome Artie. How's it going today?
Oh, doing well today. Not a whole lot on the go. Was a good time watching some wrestling last night as well.
Yeah, one of the good matches that were on last night was the tag match with Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro, with their little mini build now that's potentially going towards Wrestlemania. We don't know which day yet, but it's going to be Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan for the IC title. And I'm pretty excited for that match. So speaking of Wrestlemania and having these podcasts focus on Wrestlemania, we'll just dive into that match that was potentially announced. What do you think of Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan?
I definitely think it'll be a good match. Daniel Bryan has just this way of making, almost any match he's in a good match. He's certainly got the skills to back it up. I'm not sure if I think he's going to get the title or if it's just going to be used as a push for Sami, but I kind of want him to get the title back, or another title, I should say. But where they were talking about in the Bella podcast about him potentially winding down things, I think that it'll be used as a push for Sami more than anything else.
It very well could be, and to be fair, I love Daniel Bryan. I don't see how anybody in the world could not like Daniel Bryan. He's such a sweet guy, but I think I want Sami Zayn to win here because I think I see a potential of, if what is true and Daniel Bryan is slowing down with his wrestling career and going to start, coming out of it very, very slowly, then we could have him pushing Sami Zayn a little more. And I think with Sami Zayn's character and how he can never be hit, he can never be touched, he's just this mean, cowardly heel that runs around and nobody can touch him. I think we could do that. We could give a really, really good match with Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn because both can wrestle. Sami Zayn has not been given his due since he's come up to the main show for years. The man can wrestle. He's put on some amazing matches down in NXT when he was the champion down there with Kevin Owens. I think him and Shinsuke did wrestle in NXT. I can't remember. But we do have potential there, and I think it would make a better story if Sami Zayn did win and kind of ran away with the heel, or not with the heel, with the belt.
Yeah, I think as a heel champion, it only makes sense for him, if he's going to win, to have it be in some sort of cheesy way where obviously, Daniel Bryan gets distracted, or, one of those classic, the most devastating move in wrestling, the roll up, that kind of thing, or anything like that, where it's just, it's not clean, in quotes, win.
Yeah. Another match, too, that was possibly made on SmackDown last night was we might see the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross at WrestleMania. Now, again, we don't know which day. We know that Alexa Bliss is going to be facing Asuka next week, and that could be the slow build towards that. Now, we have seen that in the past, and I want it to be different. I want Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, if they're going to if they're going to wrestle the Kabuki Warriors, at this point, either I need the Kabuki Warriors to either keep the titles and be more of a tag team, not just, have Asuka going for the Raw Women's title continually over and over and over again, or solo feuds. They're a tag team. They should be presented as such. And I really want to push these belts. But the same thing goes ahead. If Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross get the tag titles, I want them to do something with the belts because they haven't been utilized. We've just been focusing on Asuka and Kairi Sane doing with Becky and Charlotte, and then going for Becky, and then it hasn't really worked.
I definitely want Becky and Cross to get the belts and to have this become
mean Alexa and Nikki?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Alexa and Nikki to get the belts, just to start a little bit of a back and forth thing between the two of them, just to give both of them a little more time as to have a story out of it more so than there has been. I mean, there's definitely been some story behind it, and there's been a little bit of back and forth between them, but I think they could get a good, decent length feud out of this back and forth between the two tag teams. Maybe have a third women's tag team butt in at some point, and them be the next in line kind of deal to get the belts, maybe from a different brand or even NXT.
It could be. Eventually I would like to see those tag belts defended down on NXT. I think we need to have a couple of NXT tag teams, like female tag teams, because, tag teams could come up on NXT and they'd be like, oh, there's these two female tag teams on NXT. Yeah, we're training. We're trying to get an opportunity at the belts at the Kabuki Warriors, or at the belts that are currently on Raw, or the belts that are currently on SmackDown. If we, as an audience, if we can see tag teams getting built up on NXT, and then they put it out there. They don't necessarily have to say the belts are going to be on NXT next week, but they can go, oh yeah, we're a tag team that's training for the belts, and make them, oh, okay, there's these two people down in NXT right now that are slowly training to have an opportunity at the belts. That gives them a little bit of life.
Yeah, I would kind of like to see from NXT maybe some sort of, maybe not an official tournament, but just a few tag teams, women's tag teams, really go at it in a bunch of matches, and have one tag team come out to be like super dominant over all the other tag teams, and just be like, we've beaten all these tag teams, now we want those belts, kind of thing, and just, essentially make them come back down to NXT to be defended there, because they're so good, none of the other women's tag teams there can stop them, so, we want those belts, you better come and try to stop us from taking them, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it would make NXT more interesting on Wednesdays too, especially on how that happened on Wednesday, but focusing on Mania continually, and the women as well. It was announced last night by Paige, because she contacted her associates at Fox, and they somehow made a match, because that's just how it goes. But Bayley will be defending her title in a 6-pack elimination challenge. We don't know which day yet, but it's going to be against Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, Tamina, where the hell she come from, Naomi, and Sasha Banks. Personally, I think there's only one way they can do this match that executes the best result, and I feel that should be Sasha.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think it should be where the whole elimination part comes down. I think it should come down, maybe they work together for a good portion of the match, and then one of them does something to screw over the other one, and maybe it ends up with both of them, just the two of them left, or two of them and one other person at the end. I think that would be a really interesting way to have the match go.
Yeah, the strangest thing I see about this is, it's not just because of the world situation and what's going on in our world right now with the whole crisis thing, but we've done this a few times, I believe, from memory, where we've taken the women's title, or even maybe the United States title, a title that WWE doesn't really know what they're doing right now, and we've done a pack, some sort of pack challenge. I don't know if it's a 5-pack, 6-pack, I don't care, but I think we've been here before, and when I look at this, it's neat that we'll have Sasha Banks in there, Naomi, Tamina, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, but at the same time, we look back at that, and again, where has Tamina been? She hasn't been on SmackDown in months, and then all of a sudden, she's just announced that she's going to be in a title match. I mean, Dana Brooke has been at least trying on television for the last couple of months. She's been on there. She's won a few matches. I'm not really sure where Carmella is. I mean, Naomi's been a previous champion before, but I feel, as exciting as this match may be, and it could be good, it just strikes me as them not having anything planned. And I know I have to be forgiving with what's going on in the world right now, but I found it a very lazy way to represent the title right now. But after it was all announced, Sasha Banks did look at Bayley slightly with just a little look.
Yeah, I caught her when she looked over at her. She looked down at the title and then up at her, and she had this little bit of a grin on her face. And when she stormed out, and she was still watching her storm out, she's like, you could see on her face, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to get that title from you.
It's what people have been wanting. It's we've we've wanted. Well, it was rumored in the beginning that it was going to be Sasha Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania. Then it was rumored that it was going to be Bayley and Naomi at WrestleMania. Well, now we're getting those two and four and three other women. So we're getting, I guess, all the rumors came true. We're just getting them all at once. But I think there should have
been more build.
Yeah, I know. I do understand everything that's been going on right now in the world, but hopefully after WrestleMania, if Sasha Banks does win this, because I believe it's the right way to go. I mean, if Naomi wins, I won't be disappointed. If Dana Brooke wins, you know what? I'll be super excited for her because she hasn't ever won a single title in years or in ever. So if Dana Brooke wins, whatever. But Lacey Evans, I don't want to see her with the belt yet. Tamina doesn't make sense. Naomi, all right, but Sasha Banks just seems like the right person to win. And if she does win, then we can build this sort of feud that Bayley can, I guess. Would that make Bayley the heel again and Sasha the face, or how would they go there?
I suppose it would depend on how the win went over. If it was Sasha Banks, it would have made more sense as Bayley being the heel still if Sasha Banks had just been like, okay, I've had enough of your trash talk. I'm taking that belt from you. You've gone too far or something like that. And then Sasha Banks would make a convincing and, properly led up to face in that, leaving Bayley as the heel like she is currently. But with this situation, unless there's some sort of, big screw over, or unless Bayley and Sasha are working together through the match, and then Bayley tries to screw over Sasha because she doesn't want her in the match so she can still have the title, and then Sasha's just like, I'm not having that, and then she would be the face.
Possibly. Another match that was potentially added to the card last night was Elias versus King Corbin. Honestly, I couldn't care less about that match. King Corbin has done a wonderful job of making me not care. I understand that he is doing his heel job, but he's done it so well that I just don't care. I don't want to watch him. It's not that I don't want to, see how crazy this heel is or see how awesome this face is. I don't care.
It feels like a house show match. It is what it feels like. Just because, Elias hasn't had a whole lot done with him more recently, and he's just not. I suppose he's on par with Corbin in that respect. I mean, I know Corbin has been going after had been going after the title with Reigns for a while in that whole mess, but it just doesn't seem like a big ticket match.
Elias will probably come down and start playing his guitar, but it's going to be kind of weird not seeing him perform it with audience members and stuff. But I guess it'll be at the Performance Center. Maybe he'll be like, hello, my name is Elias, and there'll be nobody in the ring. Or I don't know how they're going to do it. I really have no idea how WrestleMania is going to look. But let's get back to the WrestleMania cards. Those are the potential matches that have been added. But last time we spoke about Saturday. This time, let's talk about Sunday's build so far. We have 3 matches that are announced on the card. And I know we spoke about John Cena and The Fiend briefly back on day 1. And I know we spoke about Roman Reigns and Goldberg briefly on day 1. On part 1, on the previous podcast. But we'll talk about them in more depth on this episode. But I know right now, your girl is defending her title on day 2 against Shayna Baszler. So please tell me, what do you think about this whole Becky Lynch, Shayna Baszler build?
It's definitely going to be a good match. I'm certainly going to be rooting for Becky, but it wouldn't surprise me too much just given the build and Shayna Baszler and how dominant they've been making her look. It wouldn't surprise me if she won. I would like that to turn into sort of a longer term feud between the two of them. Maybe not like super long, but a little bit of back and forth, another match or two maybe. Or more if it ends up being a really good feud. The first match doesn't even have to be for a title. It's just be like, Shayna can just be like, I already beat you because you are going on about how you beat everyone. Well, I already beat you. What makes you think I'm gonna give you a chance to win this back, kind of thing? So then Becky has to win a match to get the match to get it back. Would be for me a sensible way of sending that feud off into being a feud.
What did you think of Shayna biting her neck?
I thought that was kind of crazy. Little more, intentional blood from WWE than you would normally see.
Yeah, the whole biting of the neck thing was kind of crazy, as you said. That seems to be the word that's been going around, explaining the whole Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch feud. I will say, as everybody has kind of noticed, that this whole predicament in the world has kind of slowed the feud down in a way. And what I mean by that is, had of everything not happened in the world right now, we probably would have seen Shayna on Raw more. We would have seen Becky on Raw more. We would have seen a little bit more of a build, a little bit more of an interesting build. But it is what it is. What did you think of Becky Lynch's big truck?
I certainly thought that was an interesting way to have her come in when they needed something kind of to pop a bit more. I'm not certain. I mean, I definitely like the paint job. They did a good job on that. What I'm wondering is that someone's personal truck? Did someone just have a truck like that, or does she own that truck?
They actually made it for Wrestlemania. That was supposed to be her Wrestlemania entrance.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So, WrestleMania 36, she was supposed to come out in a big truck, I guess. And I don't know if there was supposed to be pyro, but that was one of the props that was going to be used.
Oh, well, I mean, you can't drive a truck into the performance center, so you might as well use it.
Yeah. Yep. I do want Shayna to win, I think, because the man character has become a little stale now. And that's not because of the world's predicament. That's just because, she's been around for so long. She's had the title now for almost a straight year. I think it's been a year. It'll be a year at Mania that she's had the title. And it wouldn't hurt, booking-wise, for her to have a couple of months off.
Yeah, especially if it ends as, Shayna really, really gives it to her, and she gets, quote, injured, and then takes a month off or whatever she needs to take off for the injury, and then comes back and it's just I'm better now, I'm getting that title back, and starts the feud up that way.
That's a good idea. But I think the extended time for Becky to be off, I think it would make sense if she came back at Money in the Bank. Because if she came back at Money in the Bank and won it, that would be great. Can you imagine Becky Lynch getting defeated at WrestleMania this year, and then her coming back at Money in the Bank in May and just winning it?
Yeah, that would definitely be a good way to go with that storyline. And maybe when she comes back, she can get a refresh of her character, maybe, or just pump some life back into it so that she's got something fresh to go off of.
Well, if this does happen, then, as they say, the hunter becomes the hunted, because Shayna Baszler is hunting Becky Lynch right now for that title. Becky Lynch loses it, comes back in a couple of months. She now gets to hunt Shayna Baszler for that title. And I think that would make an excellent storyline moving forward.
Yeah, I think there would be some interesting backstage pieces you could do with that, where just Becky would literally be stalking her behind the scenes and just appearing out of nowhere to just follow her around and stuff.
It very well could be. Apologies, though, to everybody that I forgot to say one more potential match that will be happening at WrestleMania, and that is John Morrison and The Miz versus either The New Day or the Usos, or it could turn into a triple threat. It wouldn't surprise me if it did. But who would you rather see? The John Morrison and The Miz versus the New Day or the Usos?
I think I would like to see versus the New Day. I like the Usos, but I think the Usos make better heel characters than they do face characters. And with Miz and Morrison being heel characters already, I think that there would be not as much room for a heel-heel match, and that clashing of egos that happens with heel-heel characters. It would make more sense for it to be a heel-face match, just because you can have a more in-depth storyline behind it when it's a heel versus face.
Yeah, I can see that. Personally, I think I would want the Usos, just because I want to see the Usos mix with John Morrison more, just because I haven't seen a lot of that, and I think I have seen the New Day facing the Miz and Morrison more than the Usos. I could be wrong about that, but it feels like I've seen more of the New Day with them than the Usos. And the Usos are super talented, as everybody knows. And I want to see more of an in-depth match between Morrison and whether it be Jimmy or Jay. Could be, or I mean, again, if they make it a triple threat, then everybody wins. But that's one of the other potential matches that are going to be at Mania. Now, the other two matches that are on day 2, as we mentioned before, are John Cena versus The Fiend. This feud is very interesting. On Smackdown, they decided to share the Wrestlemania match where Bray Wyatt's supposed spiral began at WrestleMania 36 years ago when John Cena defeated him. I agree, and the majority of people agree, that back then Bray Wyatt should have won that match, but then at the same time we can argue that we might not have The Fiend right now if that had happened. So what's your opinion about this whole John Cena versus The Fiend feud that's been going on?
I think that the only way that this match can go that will please the fans in any manner would be The Fiend winning. It doesn't have to be a clean win. The Fiend is a heel character, so, John Cena can still look like big, strong John Cena, but The Fiend really has to win this, or, as a lot of people's opinion, I think The Fiend would be over at that point.
If The Fiend lost to John Cena at WrestleMania this year after just losing to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, that would just be burial on top of burial. That would be 2 part-timers who came in for a couple of months and wiped out a full-timer for just ratings. And then again, those ratings will go out the window in a couple of months' times because those full-timers will leave and there'll be nothing left. It's like vultures picking the bones. It's like vultures come in, swarm in, pick the bones off full-timers, and then they leave, and then the audience is looking at what's left in bones.
And also the Fiend belt that was for sale on the WWE store. Imagine someone had just bought that.
I know why they did it too. It all makes sense now. I know why they made that thing so damn expensive.
Because they knew it wasn't going to be around long.
No, so they could use the money that they earned from it to pay Goldberg. That's what it was. They had to come up with, that wasn't Saudi money that paid for Goldberg's return. That was belt money from The Fiend. $6,500 a pop at a belt. No wonder they could afford Goldberg to come back and beat him.
I think, I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's, if not one of the most expensive belts, if it's not the most expensive belt.
I think it is the most expensive belt that's ever been on the WWE shop. I think. I could be wrong, but
it's cool, but I certainly wouldn't buy it to buy a belt. I would buy a more regular looking belt. If you're a big fan of The Fiend and you have a lot of money to spend, go for it. But, if you're going to get a commemorative belt, most people would go with a belt that's a more regular looking belt, because then it can represent whichever wrestler you want, unless you get the customized version.
Yeah, and going forward with this feud as well, The Fiend beats John Cena, which he totally should, and John Cena even came back a little while, last week or 2 weeks ago, and he was like, I don't want to take someone's spot at WrestleMania. I don't want to be mean to the full-timers, blah, 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 blah. So you damn well should be losing. But if he does lose, John Cena loses here, this is perfect because we can segue right into this feud before we end the podcast. We have about 5-7 minutes left on this podcast. But we have Goldberg versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. Now, everybody is speculating that Roman Reigns is going to beat Goldberg, or the majority of fans. This is where these two matches kind of come together, because they made the move for Goldberg because the ratings went up. If Roman Reigns beats Goldberg and Bray Wyatt beats his match, then Bray Wyatt could possibly challenge Roman Reigns for that title. And we could have that Roman Reigns Bray Wyatt feud that we got a few years ago coming back to life, because the Fiend has to go around wronging everybody, or not wronging, but getting everybody who's wronged him. Before we even have that, we could have Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman's wronged the Fiend.
Yeah.
Because of the whole Wyatt family stuff. So we could have a little bit of feud before that, build up Roman Reigns' feud thing, or build up Roman Reigns' title run. But what do you think for there? Did you want Goldberg to beat Roman Reigns? So right now you want the Fiend to beat John Cena?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So do you want Roman Reigns to beat Goldberg, or do you want Goldberg to beat Roman Reigns?
I would like Roman Reigns to beat Goldberg just because if Goldberg isn't going to be around a whole lot. And I really don't want another Brock Lesnar situation where someone has the belt and is almost never there and rarely defends it. Roman Reigns has proven that when he has the belt, he's there and he does something with it. And if you're not doing something with the belt, what's the point of having the belt?
Yep, and I mean, Goldberg is in the same status as Brock Lesnar as well, where he hasn't even wrestled a match on TV in ages. Like, even, again, I put him in a tag match, you know? Let him have a little bit of whatever, you know, just some sort of in-ring action. I mean, again, given the whole situation around the world, it's a little bit difficult for them to have matches right now. But this is the same thing that people have been speaking about for, you know, over a year or 2 years about the Brock Lesnar situation. And yeah, I don't want two part-timers on both brands to have the world titles. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't get behind them because I know they're going to be gone within a month or two or maybe even 3. But I can't get behind that. I just cannot. So I think Roman Reigns beating Goldberg for the WWE Universal Championship is just the way to go, and it could put Roman Reigns back on top again. Whether the audience likes it or not, it doesn't really matter. John Cena always said it best. It doesn't matter. You know, whether you love me or hate me, I'm still going to do what I need to do. Well, Roman Reigns is still doing that every single week. So yeah, it seems like the best decision.
And then Roman Reigns can have... He doesn't have to go right to fighting The Fiend.
Yeah.
There can be... I think it would make the most sense if Roman Reigns has a feud with someone else. Can be anybody.
Except for King Corbin.
Yeah, except for King Corbin. That's over with. That can go back.
That can burn.
Yeah, that can go away. But literally any other person, and have The Fiend do the lights go out and he appears. It can even be at the end of the match. Roman Reigns can win the match and be celebrating, and then the lights all go out and The Fiend appears and just wrecks Roman Reigns and then disappears, and then they can have a feud with that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I'm worried about too, is I'm all for The Fiend facing Roman Reigns afterwards, but I feel that if he faces him too quick, like, well, you know, throw Braun Strowman in there with The Fiend and then have Roman Reigns face somebody else, like you said, I don't want The Fiend to face Roman Reigns right away, because Roman Reigns losing the belt pretty much a month after he wins it isn't good for Roman Reigns. And The Fiend beating Roman Reigns again, while that's good, I'm worried that, again, The Fiend losing doesn't make him look good.
No, yeah.
There's nobody who looks good in this situation if that happens immediately after Mania, is what I'm saying. So hopefully they will do that in the future, maybe SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think that the Fiend definitely needs a little bit of a build back up after the losing of the title, and Roman Reigns as well would need to be built back up, just because he's just got the title, so, you know, hypothetically, and would need some time to hold the title before losing it without making it seem like a pointless grab at the title.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And with that, we will wrap things up. Thanks for coming on.
Not a problem at all. It was my pleasure.
And thanks to everyone who tuned in and listened to both parts. As always, if you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find me at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. Please help me get that to 100 subscribers, because YouTube will not allow me to have a custom URL without it. So with that, this has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off.